This is the story of the King's Plate that is currently on display in the Atkinson. Hi, I'm Sam Watkin. I'm Senior and European Case Manager for Anglia Research. Anglia Research are a family-run firm of probate and genealogical researchers, and we've been based in Southport since 2008.
Hi, I'm Paul Findell, a probate genealogist working for Anglia Research. So the background of the story is a lady called Mrs. Ballard had brought a plate into the Atkinson, and the family legend was that it had been eaten off by the king. We didn't know which king, we didn't know which family member had retrieved this plate, so we started looking into it. First thing we did was a family tree for Mrs. Ballard and found that she was descended from a family by the name of Gibson. So Thomas Gibson and Sons had a shop in Southport from the 1870s right up into the mid-20th century, and the building that they used is on Chapel Street and is still there, just opposite the train station. So we started looking at this family of Gibsons. There were quite a few of them who could have retrieved this plate from the king. Thomas Gibson was the father, and he had 4 sons, all of whom worked in the company, and they were all working in the company right up till 1906. So we now had to try and pin down a visit from a king who had come into Southport. So we looked at George VI, the Queen's father, and he'd visited Bootle in the 1940s, but we couldn't find any evidence they'd ever come to Southport. So the next visit that we looked for was there was a George V had visited in 1913. This looked very promising. I found evidence that he'd actually called at Cambridge Hall, or the Atkinson. But unfortunately, on further reading, it turned out he'd only been here for like 10 minutes and in fact went to have lunch in Preston rather than in Southport. So we were a little bit worried at this point. I couldn't find any other royal visits and feared that we'd be debunking the whole story. So the next thing to do was expand the search, see if I could find any other royal visit that might fit the story. And so we looked a little bit further, and we found in 1898 His Royal Highness the Prince of Wales, the future Edward VII, visited Southport. He was inspecting the Lancashire Hussars on Southport Sands, and afterwards had gone to Cambridge Hall, where he'd had lunch and met all the local dignitaries. What evidence did we have that the Gibsons had been involved? Well, they were a well-established company in Southport at this time. So the clincher came when we found in the local newspaper that Thomas Gibson and Sons had been selling off glass and chinaware that had been used at the royal luncheon. They'd been selling it off so local people could have a memento of the royal visit. So it only made sense that they might well have kept the King's plate for themselves. That was it. That was the evidence we were looking for. I think the story has been proved.
Hello,
Paul.
Gemma, nice to meet you.
And you.
So we have our King's Plate that was donated very kindly by Maureen Ballard,
Yep.
whose family ran the House of Gibson in Southport.
Yep.
And she gave us this lovely brochure for the shop from 1850 to 1950.
Centenary, right,
yeah. Their centenary. So there is Thomas Gibson.
Right, Thomas. This is Thomas Enoch Gibson, yep. Head of the family, founder of the business.
Fabulous. And then, so this is all about the information, how they got rented the shop in Chapel Street. And there we go. So there's a very busy shopping street for Chapel Street.
Fabulous. Oh, that's amazing.